Welcome back to another episode of the Hooper's Almanac, and there's a bunch to talk about today. We're back. Welcome to our first episode of the new year, too, by the way. Happy 2026 to those who celebrate. Um, we are, Adam and I have a bunch of different things we want to talk about. We're going to talk about the news that came out today while I was sitting in Marty Supreme. We're going to talk about the Trae Young and Atlanta Hawks seemingly coming to an end. It feels like his time there. We're going to talk about finally, hence the Celtics garb. I'm gonna rant about the Celtics for a little bit today, because they have just been on this wild streak, and I have loved every second of it.
Yeah, I guess you're going to rave about the Celtics, not
That's
rant. Yeah,
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 rant in a good way.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Adam and I want to come into 2026 excited about a lot of things about the NBA, and I almost made it no kidding, like this week I almost made like 4 different like Mitch's morning thoughts videos about it, but Adam said he wanted to talk about it in the pod, and I was like, yes, this is the better way to do it because I can't fit it all in 1 minute because there's so much to look forward to in the NBA in 2026. And so whether it is this season, whether it is the off season, whether it's the start of next year, there's so much to look forward to this coming year. And so we're going to kind of discuss that to wrap up the pod today. But before we get going, let's bring in our friends from Green Top. We're back. And Adam, there's, like I said in the intro, there's a lot we want to get to today, but the thing that came out early on, and I think it's a player that we both have differing opinions on, but I feel like we both agree that it's probably the best for what's about to happen, is Trae Young and his group and his agent have come to a conclusion that it's probably his time is done in Atlanta. And they've met with Atlanta officials and the Hawks officials just to try to see what's the best route to take moving forward. Um, I think this has been a long time coming. Maybe not a long time coming, but it's felt like it's needed to happen for Atlanta to just proceed into a direction, in a different direction. That this needed to be the first big step that they made. First off, what are your thoughts? And I just kind of want to get into it with him because I think you bring a much more positive side to it than I ever do with Trae Young.
Yeah, positive plus, just had, I've had a little bit of access, to him in a couple of different
True.
instances. So I think that's maybe more what it is. But no, it's high time that this marriage ends. I think it's been for probably 18 months now. But yeah, I think they wanted to see what they had with this year's team and obviously really good young wings and kind of go from there. And, he came back and pretty immediately, the defense, went to the absolute tank and which we kind of knew was going to happen. And it really kind of threw off the rhythm of that team. Now, that team that had other issues, there was stuff that was kind of fading already prior to him coming back. So I don't think it's all on him. But no, it's not. It's not working. It's pretty clearly not working. It's moved on to, I think it's pretty clearly Jalen Johnson's team at this point. Trae Young is still an effective NBA player. He will help somebody. I don't know exactly who that is and what exactly they're going to get back. If they think they're going to get a massive haul, I think they're probably mistaken. But this is not one of those situations where, like, oh, this guy's like done. Like, he needs to be out of the league. Like, he's obviously still, effective offensive player. So I'll be very curious to see where he goes. But I think, it makes sense for all parties. It makes sense for him. He's got probably another chapter to write in his NBA career. And it's just not going to be in Atlanta. There was a fun stretch, and it's time to move on. So it happens to tons and tons of players. Not surprising that that news came out today.
Listen, I mean, Atlanta will forever hold on to that series against New York in the first round when the photo still will ring. I mean, I can still picture it of him standing and the crowd of Madison Square Garden is just pointing at him, yelling at him. And it's just like, he's like, I don't give a crap. And he brought Atlanta, to the conference finals for the first time in forever. It felt like in that playoffs and in 21, and that was like his coming out party. But we just never got to see that again. It felt like, and so, call it what it is. I mean, the 2020s have been mocked with injuries in the playoffs, and that might have been the helpful thing for the Hawks that year, or Ben Simmons just not taking a shot at the rim, but listen, I mean, Atlanta seems synonymous with Trae Young for almost a decade at this point, and so, and you're right, it is like one of those things that like it felt like it's needed to happen. The marriage needed to end between the two of them, but I. I think what we're getting is a good passing of the torch already because we're already seeing the jump in Jalen Johnson this year. You're like, Hawks fans shouldn't feel like should not be up in arms about the trade more so if once it does happen. Now, if Atlanta is as good as they were with the Pelicans trade, I feel like we're gonna see some good movement and see what they can get out of it. But you can't always count on the Pelicans to be on the other line of that call. So I think that's
No,
you
no,
can
you
count on.
cannot. And I think the Pelicans are a team that it probably just don't make a ton of sense, to trade
No.
for Trae Young with Jeremiah Fears in the fold now, and them just kind of moving in different directions. So, do you have any teams that you're like, oh man, like
Oh,
that's the one that jumped out right away? I'm sure you've thought about this. I know you think about trades constantly. So, who has jumped out as terms of like, okay, that's actually a realistic like landing spot for him?
do you know who the first person to text me was after this was Carl Baltimore? And he's like, why do I feel like the Wizards are going to get Trae
Oh,
Young?
I mean, yeah, I guess they have enough, to trade. I mean,
Well,
that's a weird one though.
so I had something, and I need to find it real quick here because I'm a slut for making trades. Adam, it is my problem, one of many. Uh, but it ends up with Trae Young on the Wizards. But it also ends up with Atlanta getting AD somehow, some way. I don't know. I understand how this is happening, but basically, the Mavericks would get a few picks from both Atlanta and Washington. Mix. I don't know what we're doing there, and
Yeah.
then the Hawks would get AD, Malachi Branham, and Koulibaly,
Oh,
and
okay.
then the Wizards would get Trae Young, and then the Mavericks would get CJ McCollum and Zachary Ricochet.
Okay.
So it's
Man.
bolstering out the wing depth in Dallas, whatever you want to call with Ricochet. Plus, you get McCollum in the building as like
Yeah.
a guard scorer along and like playmaker alongside Flag, especially until Kyrie comes back. And McCollum can be just your six man once Kyrie comes back too. Um, and then Atlanta gets another great defender in Koulibaly. Branham is a great shooter, and I this is where I start to worry is okay, you bring in AD, that's I will never understand the fit in Atlanta, but apparently they want him. So I mean, what is Johnson going to be your three at that point? And then AD is your four alongside a Kongwu, which kind of works because a Kongwu's been stretch five and pretty efficient this year. Um, and Johnson just becomes your point forward. That might be the case, but I'm genuinely curious about that one.
Yeah, whatever Anthony Davis like thinks of himself is like fine. I mean, he's obviously entitled to that. He is a five. His best position
Yeah.
is as a five. When Dallas has played well this stretch, when him and Flag are playing at the same time, it's with him at the five and Flag as like essentially the four. Like I don't like this is just so this whole like no I'm a four and I gotta put with another five like that's just dumb. I mean you're right though, KP or Okongwu, like they have shot well enough. I mean KP over the course of his career shot well enough to that kind of makes some sense. You can play them together, but I don't know. Like yeah, the best lineups are going to be with 80 at the five and Jalen Johnson at the four on that team. So the Risa piece is like pretty interesting. I don't know, man. Dallas, can they politically do that? Where it's like we essentially traded Luka Doncic for CJ McCollum, some picks, and Zachary Ricochet. I mean,
You would have to get
that
a few
is
picks back. That's the thing, though. Like
more than a few. I mean, it's like
well,
that,
I'm just
and they would need to
saying,
be
at least
like
you're getting back the
prime
Hawks.
picks.
You would at least get back the Hawks and the Wizards, which, listen, categorically, both teams have been just mediocre at best for the past like decade. Outside of the Hawks, like I said, conference finals runs in 21. The Wizards have been downtrodden, and the Hawks have been strictly in the play-in for the past like 4 years. So it's like
So
you're getting
Wizards, what are you getting from the Wizards? What like an unprotected first?
probably and Carl brought it up too. He's like you would have to probably give up like a 28 pick. So it'd be like far enough out because Trae Young is on a player option next year. So he finishes out this year and he's got a player option next year. I'm going to pull the Rasil. He's probably picking that up.
Yeah,
And but I mean, so you're going to look towards 28. Trae Young will probably be gone, or he's going to sign a contract there. But it's like you got to take a chance. Like it's for Dallas, it's like okay, get a chance on a Wizards pick that in the future you're like, oh, maybe they might be good or they're going to be bad like they have always been. So it's like it's a risky pick. You can't do this year from the Wizards because the Wizards are going to be still so bad. They're counting on getting like probably one of these top guys. If they can get Dybansta or Boozer, that's crazy good for them. But yeah, I think it would have to be either like a 27 or a 28 pick more than anything.
Yeah, because like a 26 unprotected pick, it's like that could be the first pick in the draft, and like Trae Young is not worth anywhere close to that. So it's like, that's just like, it's got to be far enough out, and maybe you put some protections on it. But I don't know, man. I mean, he's a tricky guy to kind of sort out. I mean, I like Milwaukee. Like, is that
No, that was the other one I had. That was the only one I had.
There?
But it was it. Listen, I don't think Milwaukee.
They don't have much to trade. I mean, they're stuck.
So it's Kuzma, Portis, and Rollins, and I don't think Milwaukee trades Rollins. But I'm thinking about it now. Rollins in Atlanta might be like crazy cool. Like honestly, that starting lineup of Rollins, Daniels, Johnson, Okongwu, and
I love Portis off the bench on that team. That's a great fit for them.
Right. And even with you could probably move Porzingis for something at that point because you just keep Portis because Porzingis hasn't done jack. So it's like, what are we going to get out of that? So that's the other thing I was thinking about too. Like if Atlanta's doing this, what else are they going to move? And so, but that's another topic. And then the only other team I thought of, which this is the other trade I had. Listen, Sacramento is going to Sacramento. They're going to be stupid. But Dennis Schroeder and DeMar DeRozan are the perfect number of dollars and cents to send back to Atlanta. You get Schroeder back in Atlanta, and you get DeMar DeRozan as just like a scorer in clutch.
Atlanta, I think they value Trae way more than that. I mean, that just doesn't feel like. I mean, I think we can zoom out and be like, oh, like sure, that makes sense, but like. This is like their like franchise guy. Like I think they probably fancy that they're going to get a lot more than that for Trae Young. I don't think they are. No. But I don't think they do something like that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they would. Maybe I'm mistaken. But that just feels like almost like an admission of like, oh yeah, like this is, we're taking what we deem is far less than what he's worth. I don't know. I have a feeling they think he's worth a lot more than that.
That's fair. And listen, and I think you're right. I think my poor.
Like that's zero future assets.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I apologize. Probably a pick or two within there too.
Okay.
Because it would be from Sacramento. The thing is, I don't know. Sacramento, I believe, only has their picks. I don't think they have. They didn't get anything from Chicago. They did get. Okay. Did they get a Spurs pick at all from them for the Fox trade?
In the Fox trade, yes, they did. Yes.
Okay, so I'm like, maybe you could send some Spurs picks to Atlanta, but I'm like. What's that going to do you? Nothing, because like for the next few years, the Spurs are going to be freaking good. Although, listen, everyone's losing to Charlotte right now, so I mean, who knows what's going on?
Yeah, seriously.
But point still being, I think there's a lot of options. The only other team I thought about was Brooklyn. Brooklyn though just has so many guards, so it's like, I mean, all these young guards that they drafted, and then Cam Thomas is still there too. But that's the other thing. This is the issue. Like Atlanta, I mean, Trae Young want to be traded. There's not many teams that are going to want to trade for him.
Yeah,
that's what Carl texted me. He's like, I might be the only believer left in Trae Young, and he might be ending up on my team.
Yeah, I mean, he's a tricky piece to he's a tricky player to fit into your system. I mean, it's just he's got to have the ball to be effective. Like he's got to kind of run the show. In order to be effective, and there's not a lot of like good teams where it's like they're Trae Young short of contention. So it's gonna be interesting to see. But it's high time that it happened. I think this makes total sense for all parties involved.
Minnesota is a no-go, by the way.
No,
that would be giving up Randall, and I don't think they would do that.
No, that eats way too much into their identity. Yeah.
Toronto. Quickly
they've got some money that like is tied up in kind of longer term deals that they would probably like to get off of, like swap it for Trae Young, who could be done in 18 months. But that's an interesting one. That makes more sense than some of these other teams. But I don't know. I mean,
but that's also a team that's like been pretty good this year.
Yeah, they've been good. Yeah.
And you can get off like Quickly and Barrett. one less mouth to feed, but it's then Trae Young taking over
Yeah,
your
but I mean,
offense.
quick, like they're good players. I mean, it's like that's not like, oh
No, you're
yes,
right.
like we finally rid ourselves of like I mean, that's you're swapping two really solid players for one who, like, you don't know if it's gonna fit in kind of your what you're doing there. So yeah, that's tough, man. He's a tricky player to trade for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any other Trae Young thoughts?
No, I'm ready to talk Celtics.
Oh gosh. Okay, let's do this. Listen, I've been trying, and listen, I poke it in there every now and then, but listen, it's been a fun year to talk about your Spurs. Honestly,
Yeah,
like it's been a lot of fun to just talk about your Spurs, and I try to limit my Celtics talk this year. Just because, listen, I was not hopeful for anything great to happen. I didn't think many great things were going to happen. And then Saturday happened, and Jaylen Brown dropped his second 50-point game in his career, which, listen, the last time he did it was against the Admiral Schofield Orlando Magic. Um,
what a time.
call it, what a time in the NBA. Um, and I didn't think I'd ever see Jaylen Brown do that again. The fact that also Jason Tatum has the most in Celtics history, crazy, was 7. 8 if you're counting the play-in game that he dropped 50 or 60 in. But yeah, I've been trying to limit my Celtics talk as much this year just because there's so much other good basketball to talk about. But we've come into the 2026. I was like, I think it's about damn time we started talking about them a little
Yeah,
bit.
absolutely. Well, and like this is the thing is like we obviously want to talk about the entire league, but like you are a Celtics fan, I'm a Spurs fan. That's okay. Like it's okay for us to want to talk about our teams, especially when they're both good. And this year they're both good. They haven't both been good since 2018.
If you want to count the Spurs, no, the Spurs were good in 2018. Yeah, 2018.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And
yeah,
19 the Spurs made the playoffs. I guess 19 was the last time they both made the playoffs.
yeah. No, that's fair. I think 2018 was the last time both teams felt like they were in the top half of a playoff picture for
Yeah,
both
well, I
teams.
mean 2017 they were both in the conference finals, so that was the last year where they were both like really good, like legitimate good teams. Yeah,
That's fair, but the Celtics were the worst one seed of all time in 2017.
yeah, probably, probably.
That's my. I've been told that many times. I fought it for about 5 years, and I was like, no, you're probably right. So, anyways, I mean, listen. Anyone wants to crap on Brad Stevens' coaching, I then point them to the 2017
Yeah,
Celtics.
that's stupid.
How I'm like, listen, he might not have got him a title, but the fact that he got him to the conference finals in 2017 and then 2018 with Kyrie and Hayward both being out, whatever, you could all
Yeah,
chill.
no,
With Scary
he was
Terry,
great. Yeah, that's a revisionist. I don't like know where that's coming from. He was a very good coach. It's just like he just
yeah,
decided to move on. It's like he timed that perfectly. Like he timed that move to the front office really well, and he's done a great job in that role. So
oh,
yeah, I don't that's nonsense.
yeah, absolutely agree. But anyways, Boston Celtics. You had painted the picture that you were going to ask the questions, and I'm going to be the answer and response man. And
Okay.
I'm ecstatic to see where this conversation goes.
Okay, so so they won again tonight. They beat the Bulls tonight. So they're 23-12. We're recording this, late Monday night. How exactly are they doing this?
It has been a lot.
Even the most optimistic Celtics fans probably would not have had them at 23-12. Second in the East.
The most optimistic Celtics fan didn't have Jaylen Brown averaging 30 points a game.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like, listen, I said at the beginning of the year, I got laughed at, and that's fine. But you don't compare one of the best in NBA history to Jaylen Brown. That's fine. The Clippers showed the graphic of Jaylen Brown comparing him to 94 Scottie Pippen. That's where we're at. Now, listen, I understand Jason Tatum is not Michael Jordan. That's totally fine. I understand that. But we're comparing that Jaylen Brown to Scottie Pippen, and it's like, hey, your best player's gone, not a part of your team this year, or part of the position. Like, how are you going to step up as this 1B? And like, I think there was a lot of question about, and there's always been the hate of Jaylen Brown, like, oh, he should be the one traded for KD if they ever do it. I'm like, get the hell out of here. No one ever wanted that. But I mean, I didn't want that. But it's always been like, Jaylen Brown, if anyone would get traded between him and Jason, it would be Jaylen Brown. And this year, and I think the 24 playoff run, was the proof that everyone should look back and say, nah, this man is like really freaking good. Jason Tatum doesn't need to have the ball in his hands all the time. And Jaylen Brown has been a phenomenal scorer. And this year we're seeing him step up as a creator because he's had to, because he's had the ball in his hands so many times. I mean, so much. And also, like, he's taking it to heart, like, and whether or not you think it's corny or not, I kind of do, but it's whatever. I love him. Like some of the stuff about not winning player of the month, not like being considered the best two-way player in the NBA, which, listen, call it what you will. He's probably in the top 5 as of right now in the NBA. But he has been so much fun to watch on a team that has been very, like, there were so many questions. So you asked how are they doing it? A lot of Jaylen Brown, a lot of the trio of guards between White, who's taken a massive leap this year, who's averaging 18 a game, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, also a steal and a half and a block and a half. And then Anthony Simons has been, who, listen, started very slow, but has been lights out shooting whenever he gets the ball in his hands. Terrible defender. And then we also have the trio of athletic wings and Walsh, Gonzalez, and Minot, who have been just a revelation. And somehow we just can throw one of those 3 in at any point, and we can count on them to be rebounding maniacs and also defend the best player on the other team.
Yeah, so I mean the Brown piece, I'll kind of attack that first because like I love Jaylen Brown. I always have. I've always thought like he's much closer to being in Tatum's league than than I think the consensus thinks. And I think the 2024 playoffs I think was a great sign of that. Tatum is a better overall player, but like I think that the Pippen example, again, they're not as good at players as Michael and Scotty, but that's actually a great like historical comparison, like what's happening this year, because it's like that team was like really, really good. I mean, they lost Michael Jordan, who like is coming off possibly the best 5-year run in the history of basketball, like the like kind of late 80s to early 90s portion of Jordan's career. And yet they go and win. I think they won 57 games and almost made the conference finals, if not for like a terrible call in the Knicks series. Like that team was awesome. And it was because Scotty did so many more things because he had the platform to do so, right? Which he didn't have, when Michael was there. And now Jaylen Brown has the platform to do it, and he's showing, hey, I'm perfectly capable of this as well. There are plenty of guys who think they're capable of that, and then when they're thrust into that position, they don't take advantage of it. He's fully taken advantage of it, and then some. I've been so impressed with what he's done, and I've been very happy for him. I think this is actually really cool because like he's one of those like, hey, if you don't watch a lot of basketball, you kind of do the whole like doesn't have a bag and like his handle and all that stuff. It's like that's so dumb. Like he's just an incredibly effective player, and even if he like doesn't have like the most creative handle, like it's effective. I mean, I don't really care about that. Like, not every player needs to look like Kyrie Irving to be good, So I really like have loved what Jaylen Brown's brought to the table, and I'm very happy for him. So you talked about kind of the young guys, the wings, which Minot has not played as much recently.
No,
but like Neemias Queta is like a legitimate like big man. Yeah, I know you love him, so I'll give you a couple. Yeah, take a couple minutes. Neemias Queta.
Can I tell you, the guy who put me on Neemias Queta, and before we even traded for him, was the former co-host Aaron Carter. Loved him in Sacramento. Like, draft day, Aaron calls me, I want Neemias Queta on the Denver Nuggets. Ends up in Sacramento, which at that point we were both like super high on. It is like getting better. Doesn't get minutes there. Comes to the Celtics and is like the 4th string center, and we play him on nights when Horford and KP were both like hurt and Cornette needed a break. Like, that's all Queta was doing last year. And this year, to see him basically be Time Lord 2.0 has been my favorite thing, and a healthy version of it. Like, that's the difference between him and Time Lord. Queta has been a phenomenal like center because he knows his role. He knows he doesn't need to shoot, and yet he still shot a 3, his first 3 of the year against the Clippers, and I did not have a thought that was going in. But he knows his role. He is such a good offensive rebounder. The Celtics team can't get a defensive rebound to save their life, but they can get offensive rebounds. Makes no sense. But he is such a great like defensive anchor for them as a smaller center. Super athletic. And yeah, he's just so much smarter than I think many people thought. And he's just been a revelation this year. I mean, because already he's started in every game he's played, 32 games. And I was looking at it earlier because I wanted to make sure I had this right. Yeah, he had only started 6 games before this year, and it was last year for the Celtics. In his time before joining Boston, he'd only played in 20 games with Sacramento. um, and which is less than he's like started for the Celtics just this year. So I have really loved him. Garza's come along recently, the past like 10 games. Maz could not find minutes for him because Garza wasn't hustling on defense. Now, this is the other thing. Maz has somehow found a way to get guys to care about playing. Like he's like, hey, you want to play deep? You want to play minutes in an NBA game? Like for these like guys who are third stringers, fourth stringers, and other teams, just hustle. And that's what these guys are doing. Walsh and Minot and Garza are guys who weren't getting playing time on playoff teams last year, and now they're getting playing time because they're showing effort on both ends. And Garza has been like an offensive rebounding machine. Like I can count on him getting at least 3 offensive rebounds a game. It feels like.
Yeah. So okay, Pritchard, the holdovers. Okay, what about the holdovers who like, okay, now their role is a little bit bigger. So Pritchard, I think, would fit into that category. Derek White would fit into that
Yeah.
category.
Oh yeah.
Simons obviously is a new player, so you're not going to really necessarily count him. But yeah, those are probably the main two. So have those two kind of like held up their end of the bargain and be like, okay, like for us to actually be a legitimately good team, we need to have really good seasons. It seems like that has been the case.
To start the year, no, but more recently, yes. White is just not as efficient just because he's got to take more shots. He's only shooting 40% from the field, which is just like, whatever, I'll take it. But it's the nights when he goes crazy, like the nights when he goes for 28 in a game and he hits like 5 threes. You're like, this is why you bring him in. But the thing is, like, they don't turn the ball over at all. Like, Brown is the one who turns the ball over the most, has the ball in his hands the most. But those two guys in White and Pritchard are just so smart with the ball in their hands, and they have just such good like ball handling skills. Like I don't worry about them losing the ball on the dribble. I don't worry about them making a stupid pass. And they are both like great at realizing, hey, and not to like an extent of Chris Paul or anything, but they are like, hey, I know this guy's going. I don't need to score right now. But hey, Sam Hauser's hit like 2 threes in the past like 5 minutes. Let's get him another shot. That's another guy too. But Hauser's also like lost minutes in some of these games too. Um, it's felt like, and he is back to kind of like wishy-washy starting. Like he started game 1 and then he hasn't started until recently, and he's now started 6 games. The Celtics have gone through this stage of like, I know I can trust them to not turn the ball over. And that's what wins them games. It's like, as long as they don't turn the ball over, they don't give the other team extra possessions, because they're going to give extra possessions on the offensive boards, on the other, like, because they can't get defensive rebounds. So like, let's limit what we can on our end and not make stupid mistakes. And that's what I think Pritchard and White and Simons even too, like, have given like this team of like some semblance of like calm on the offensive end.
Okay, so where has your mind gone? I mean, is it like, okay, like I think Tatum's coming back. I think that's pretty clear. I mean, unless they just like the organization just doesn't allow him. I think he's coming back. So where has your mind gone? Because I think it's foolish to think that Tatum will just be first team All NBA Jason Tatum when he comes back. That's not going to be the case. So, and I also think I actually think that would throw off this team big time if it's like, okay, right back, same amount of shots.
Oh yeah.
Like there needs to still be a bit of a hierarchy with Jaylen Brown being at the top of it for this season. Now maybe that can switch back, in time for the next couple of seasons. But for this year, for them to be effective, in my mind, he needs to come back and turn into like, okay, I'll now be kind of like the Pippen role in this team. I'll do all the other things. I'll obviously score because I'm a good scorer. But if he comes back and does that thing, helps with the rebounding, which he will, where can this team go?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
are you like, oh, this team can actually go to the finals? I think, surely you wouldn't favor them over probably any of the West teams. I probably still would not have them favored in a series over the Knicks or Pistons. But, I mean, I think they could beat anybody else in the East. What about you?
Adam, I have them in the finals. Like it sucks. Like it sucks. I have them in the finals, and it's
obviously if he comes back and
definitely
looks,
a bias.
like something like himself.
Oh right, yeah, but yeah. Listen, Jalen has to be the 1A to Jason's 1B. Like that has to be the case, and I think Jason is just another. Tatum's just another guy to bring the ball up the court. And now listen, it's going to be a lot of Brown and White. I feel like just to get things going, but Tatum, when he's not with the ball in his hands, has been a proven like good catch and shoot shooter, like from 3. Yep. He's also been a good, like, great defender. Now, again, coming back, he's not going to be fully like himself in an all defensive like manner, but like you said, he's big enough to rebound still, and he's just such a great rebounder for them. I think that's going to help them on that end. The thing I worry about the most, like you brought up, is like, okay, will there be any issue when Tatum comes back, like of the hierarchy? That's my mental thing. Um, which I think immediately coming back, no, he's shown so much love to Jalen with him playing so well, like in
Well, and
some of
he's
these games.
watching. It's not like
He's
he's just,
on
but
the
he's watching this very closely.
he's on the bench. Like he was on
Yeah.
their West Coast road trip. Like he went with them. And I think that's the more impressive thing is like we don't see guys do that. Like I think that's what Tatum is like observing is like, hey, I'm not gonna be the number one guy. And that might be fine for this year. Like it might be okay for me just like to take the step back of a main guy. But I think I also said this to another guy. I was like, he's just gonna be the decoy. Like people are still gonna think whenever Tatum comes back, like instinctively, oh, the last shot's probably gonna go to Tatum. Brown has taken that spot 100% this year, and I still think Brown has probably been the better like late game shooter than Tatum in some instances. But I think Tatum just becomes the decoy when he comes back, and on the nights that like Brown is cooking, Tatum is still going to get better looks. I think the best part of Tatum coming back is players are just going to have better looks because Tatum is just another threat from outside,
Yeah.
and I think that's just the difference of it all. Um, so I think when Tatum comes back, I've been praying for a trade of some sort. I don't want them to trade Simons anymore. I think Simons has come on as just a great 6-man scorer. You have to have him. Tonight he was a leading scorer for them against the Bulls. Has to be on the floor because we don't have bench scoring. He is the bench scoring. I want to give Hugo some props, but the guy only averages 4 a game, and it is those 5 guys of Brown, White, Pritchard, Keita, Simons are the only guys averaging double digits, which is a great 5 to have. It's just that 4th spot, which will be Tatum, 4th starting spot, which will be Tatum, that can average like a double digits whenever he comes back.
Okay, so no Tatum. Can they win a playoff series?
A playoff series, yes. As the 3 seed, yeah, they'll play. So let's look. I mean, if the playoffs started today, who is the 6th seed right now? Is it
Like Toronto?
hold on. Yeah, they can beat Toronto. But like you said, I would have massive worries against New York. Now, New York recently, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, the
Orlando
Knicks
is the 6th seed right
like
now.
kill them on the boards if they without Tatum. I mean, they just would destroy them. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So the 6th seed right now is the Orlando Magic.
Okay.
Raptors are actually the 4th seed right now. Orlando Magic. It'd be tough, but the Magic. So in my head right now, I'm just thinking the Magic just have they play us so physical every time we play them. Cole Anthony's not there to hurt us, which literally physically hurt us, which is nice. Or is Caldwell Pope. But Desmond Bain is still on the floor, and he's just playing dodgeball with basketballs. So, who knows? That would be a fun series. It probably
that's a tougher I hope he comes back. I hope he's like at least close to himself. He's not going to be Jason Tatum. I hope people's expectations are not like, oh, why isn't he first team All NBA anymore? It's like, look, man, that's not an injury you just immediately come back from and are great. So it'd be awesome to see. They've been much better than I thought. I was a little bit on the like, okay, they'll be solid. Like I don't think there's some people who are like, oh, they should just tank, and like that's crazy to me. Which is that is going to lead into our 2026 things we want from the NBA in 2026. But yeah, they were never going to tank. That would have been, I think, incredibly foolish. But this has been much better than I thought it was going to be, and I'm happy for you. And the league is fun, and the Celtics are good. So I think this is a good thing.
I said this earlier. I said this earlier on in the season. I didn't think they were going to tank, but I didn't think they were going to be a 50-win team. They might be a 50-win team.
Yeah, I didn't think so either. Yeah, I think they're on pace for sure.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Also, just saying it, the West finally caught up and now has the same amount of teams over 500 as the Eastern Conference. Finally, the Western caught up. Also, I will say this: I don't feel like we've had a lot of interconference games this year. I feel like people haven't, like the West hasn't gone their East Coast road trips recently, and the East hasn't gone to the out West yet.
It sounds like those are backloaded for a lot of teams.
Yeah, well, I mean, OKC hasn't done it. Now they're finally doing those trips right now, and they're finally playing the East, and they're learning that Charlotte apparently is really good. Because Jesus, Charlotte just put a pounding on them tonight, and now to have their 13th win of the season. Congratulations to Charlotte. Listen, I'll be ecstatic for the Celtics. If we play the Miami Heat though in the first round again, I will cry, and I don't want it. I don't want it because Spo's going to beat us, and I don't want it. But that's my final thing for the Celtics. Then we can talk about things we're excited about for 2026. I will always hype up Jordan Walsh. Like, listen, my wife loved him on the bench every game. She's like, why doesn't Jordan Walsh play? Like, that was one of the guys she remembered. Like, every roster, every year. One of the first things she did whenever we first started dating was memorize the entire Celtics roster. Love her for that. Jordan Walsh has been around for almost our entire relationship. And has been a key integral part of our Celtics relationship. And so whenever he started starting, she got more interested. Now, we have not watched many Celtics games on the big TV because we did not think they were going to be this good, let alone she's also been working a lot. But every time Jordan Walsh is out there, I point it out to her, and she gets excited. But so, yeah, Jordan Walsh, you will always have a place in my heart because you have a place in my wife's heart for some reason. Yeah, that's Celtics talk. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come right back, though, with things we're excited about and things we want to have happen in the NBA in 2026. We're back, and Adam and I wanted to kind of just break down like what we're excited about for the NBA in 2026, but also what we're wanting in the NBA from the NBA in 2026. And it's one of those times because we start the new year, we're 25 years into the 21st century, and it feels like there's a lot to be like grateful for from the first like 25 years of the NBA in this century. But what can we hope for? I think is the best thing. That's like the thing to look forward to. And so, Adam, I'm going to let you start here. What's the thing you're looking forward to most or wanting the most in 2026 from the NBA?
So this is not necessarily wanting the most, but this is maybe the thing that I think would just like, I think all basketball fans, and I think you obviously, your current team in particular, injuries to star players. If I could just wave a magic wand, I mean players, all players in general, but I think particularly star players because they just obviously affect what we're watching more than anybody else. But if I could wave a magic wand and solve any sort of basketball related thing, I think that would be the number one thing. It's like it'd be so awesome to actually see these teams at full strength. Like I think this is the most loaded period the NBA has ever had in terms of depth of talent. There's been other times where the top talent is maybe as good, but not the depth of talent. Or where like every team, that's like going to be a playoff team has 8 legitimate, really good players. That's so rare that happens. And like some of these teams, they're like 4th and 5th best guy would be like second options in another era in the league.
Yeah.
So if we could actually see these teams at full strength, because I'm not sure I've watched a game this year other than there was one Spurs game. I'm trying to remember who they played where both teams essentially had their entire roster available. And that's crazy that there's been one game that I've watched in full that like both teams have had their entire complement of like their 12 guys. It's frustrating. Injuries as a whole are actually down in the league this year. But injuries to star players are obviously rearing its ugly head, and obviously your team in particular, right. We just talked about their best player has been out all season, so that would be the one thing I think you would agree. Let's kind of get that out of the way almost, like because obviously our number one thing would be like we'd love to have all of our kind of favorite players, our star players, healthy. I think that would be so cool.
I absolutely agree, and we've talked about it before. It is just the way the game is played now. It just is unfortunately like the stress on the body is just going to take a toll. But I think you're absolutely right. I think that, which I'll get to one of the things I want in this year, but it's like, listen, that is a part of the NBA. It always has been, but like the severity of some of these injuries has been, I think that's the biggest thing too. Is just like, you're right. We're missing some big names this year. Tatum, Halliburton, Lillard. I mean, and we've missed extended periods of time, and now we have Jokic out. We've had Wemby out at certain points. Anthony Davis has consistently been out, and even Luka and LeBron. I mean, the list goes on and on. And I totally agree. I think the thing is, as well as you talked about like the depth of the NBA, I think that's the other thing too. Is like so many number 4, number 5 guys on these teams have become stars to us just because of the media and like how much like guys are be able to get propped up and like or better known because of like social media and like how well we're like even casual fans can tell you, yeah, Peyton Pritchard is probably the third best guy on the Celtics team. And it would suck to just see even him out. And if he's out, then people are like, oh, this isn't the Celtics at full strength. Even like if like the Knicks were missing Miles McBride, who, listen, key bench player, but guys know who he is because of a nickname Deuce. And it's just like one of those things that like people are like, oh, if he's not playing, it's not a full roster. So I definitely agree about just like injury is just killing it. But also I think even injuries like to role players are just so hyped up because of just the ability to know like these guys so much easier now in the NBA because of social media and everything,
Yeah.
which plays a factor into it. But also, real quick, you're right about the depth of the NBA right now because that's the other thing we're seeing is like with all these injuries, we're seeing these role players become really good.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
Nemhard of the Mavericks, we would never have seen if it wasn't for just like the injuries in Dallas.
Yeah.
I think that continues to prove that we are, like you said, in the greatest talent pool that the NBA has had in its history.
Yeah, and I'll use the Portland Trailblazers as an example. So the other day they played the Spurs, and as the broadcast opened, Sean Elliott kind of made a point about, the Blazers tonight are without, obviously the Spurs are without Wemby and Devin Vassell, but like the Blazers tonight are without Damian Lillard, Drew Holiday, Jeremy Grant, and Scoot Henderson. And I was just like, oh yeah, like they'd be like they're pretty good anyway. Like they'd be like really good if they have all 4 of those guys. But like that's the testament to like in another time, if a team like Portland was missing those 4 players, they'd just be a joke. Like the rest, it's like they would never win a game. But it's like no, they actually went into San Antonio and beat the Spurs again without Vassell and Wemby. But and it was like not a fluke. It was like they just played better. Like they're just a solid team. They have a bunch of good players. You know, Denny Avdia has clearly turned into an all-star. And it's like a guy like Shimani Kamara is obviously getting a lot more shots now because all these other dudes are not in the game. So yeah, you're right. It's almost like it's allowing the league to show off its depth because of these injuries. But I just like wish we didn't have to have the injuries for us to see this depth. You know, so that was my number one. That was my number one. But what about you?
No, I totally agree with that. I think my other thing is coming in 2026, sticking to the injuries thing. Listen, we're gonna have injuries in the playoffs. Stop discounting teams like runs to the finals because of
I hate that.
I
hate that.
Like that's what I want. Like, listen, I mean that's what we've had every year since I don't know 2018, whatever year Nurkic got hurt for the Blazers. And listen,
every year in the history of the league, history of the league, you can find an injury that really impacted a series that could have impacted the title. Seriously, every single season in the history of the NBA.
You're absolutely right. Hell, the Willis Reed injury for the Knicks in '70. He comes back, makes 2 shots. That's it. But I'm like, that severely impacted that series. But no, I totally agree. But like, it's felt like over the past since 23, it's felt like the past 3 finals have been like, well, man, if this team didn't get fully hurt, then you know the Celtics won the NBA Finals. Well, if the Pacers shouldn't have made the finals last year, if everyone doesn't get hurt, people get hurt. And yes, like Adam said, like there's such a ramped up injury. Like there's the numbers have kind of ramped up a little bit this year with the downside of things. But I think that's what it kind of comes with the nature of the playoffs too. Is like guys are going to play more and more minutes, and it's kind of more consistent and teams
at a higher intensity.
Yes, absolutely. And so it's like it's bound to happen, unfortunately. And so it sucks when it does, but you can't discount a team's resilience and ability to kind of stay healthy to make a finals run. And I feel like if you make a finals and get to stay healthy, you've won that.
Yeah, I look, and this is not to say we should just remove all context from like when talking about some certain things, but that's more like a, like that's a more historical, like, like when we talk about 2019, like would the Raptors have won the title if KD isn't hurt? Probably not. But again, we could do that over and over and over. And it's like that's now I'm not going to punish the Raptors just for staying healthy. It's like that's just not how this is going to work. Again, we could do this for every season ever. There's this great hockey writer, Sean McIndoe. And people do this in hockey too. There's like, oh, well, this guy, this and this and this. And hockey's even more random than basketball, so you can do it better for this. But he started his column where he was like, it was like a joking, almost like a mocking of that thing. Like, yeah, if this guy wouldn't have got hurt in the 2023 playoffs, therefore this wouldn't happen to this. And then he went backwards and found a thing. And he just kept, every paragraph was a different year. And he went all the way back to like, the 60s. Because it was just like, you can do this. We can do this all day. Like, oh, but if this wouldn't happen, or if this call went a certain way, or if this thing, it's like, if you were the inventors of Facebook, you'd have invented Facebook. You know what I mean? It's like, that's like how I want to respond to that question. It's like, look, man, we could do this all day, but like, this is just kind of the reality that we're presented with. And I love to kind of think about things theoretically and in context, especially when talking about individual players. Like, okay, if he was in this scenario, would he be better? If this is a better ecosystem, would he have had a better career? I'm not going to punish a guy. I'm not even huge like, oh, he must win 8 championships to be considered the GOAT. Like, I don't think that's really true. But when talking about teams, I think you're spot on. We should not be discrediting teams for staying healthy. Like, how dare they? Like, it's like, I don't know. Like, that's so dumb. So I'm with you on that one.
No, I think it's just one of the dumber things that we do I think not we, me and you, the collective we do as NBA fans. And I think that just shows your casualness if you're yelling about that.
It's like blaming a refs for a loss. It's like, that's just loser behavior.
Unless, what's the guy from the Kings Lakers game that we can?
Donahue. Well, yeah, that was like a legitimate like gambling scandal. Like,
I know, but that's
like,
guy.
Average,
that's the reason you can blame a ref.
Yeah.
I hate the high school parents who yell, "What are they paying you?" Gosh, I can. I'm
like, not enough is honestly what they're. Yeah, this is what the ref could say.
Did I listen to you yell at me? Not enough. Okay. What's your number 2? What do you got here?
The NBA Cup. I want some tidying up of the NBA Cup. Okay. And this is a theoretical. This is never going to happen. I want to be really clear. We have done podcasts in the past talking about like how we would fix the NBA, but this is just kind of a minor tweak. The Cup idea is great. I like it. Yep. I think it needs a more differential between the regular season and Cup games. So I would take away, this would solve so many issues. Take away 10 regular season games. Balance the schedule a little bit. So you would basically play, it'd be 72 games for every team. So you'd play everyone in your conference home and away. So there's 28 games. Well, you play, everybody in the league home and away. So there's 58 games. And then you play everybody in your conference another time, either home and away. You split those games, seven roads, 7 home. So that gets you to 72 games perfectly. Everyone plays the same type of schedule, essentially, right? You're all playing everybody home and away, and you're playing your own conference again a third time. So that lessens the gap between East and West if there is an imbalance, right? That every time you lessen the games, it also lessens those imbalances. And you don't have to play any back-to-backs. So it eliminates back-to-backs completely. Helps with injury stuff, helps with so many things. And it allows for weeks off of the season where all you're playing are Cup games. So I would have 2 week-long periods where all you're playing are NBA Cup games. And so the Cups it's now divided into divisions rather than these like kind of random groups that they do. It's just your division is your Cup group. And I would make those games elam ending for the scoring instead of regular clocks to make it really feel like a different game. They don't count towards regular season. So you're probably going to end up playing less overall Cup games. I guess you still could play 5 if you go to the semifinals and final. But so yeah, your division. No, I guess you play 5 in the division. You play your other teams. Are there 5 in a division? Yeah, there's 5 teams
5 in a division.
You got your 4, and then you have the quarterfinals on. And even then, I might not even have as many teams making the quarterfinals. You don't give that like second place team a bye. You just have their 6 division winners, and the teams with the 2 best point differentials get a bye into the semis. I actually like that more. I'm kind of workshopping this almost as we're talking about it. So I think there's something with the Cup, and I think it's still like it needs some tweaking. It just still feels a tad too similar. And then we have just like this one-off championship game. The whole like the crew of like, the Knicks celebrated too much the Cup. I think that's so lame. Like, I'm going to tell you how you should feel about this thing that you did. Like, that's such loser behavior. That was like a talking point on like sports talk shows. Just shows like where we are with sports talk shows, honestly. But it's like, no, they can celebrate that however much they want. Like, they accomplished it. You didn't accomplish it. You know what I mean? Like, they get to read that as much as they want. So I want the Cup to be a bigger deal. I think it could be really cool. It just needs a little bit of tweaking. So what do you think about the kind of like separating it? So we're playing less overall games. Nobody's playing any back-to-backs, and now the Cup has a bit of a different feel to it.
Listen, I love how you said it was a minor tweak, but then you said, let me remove 10 games from the regular
Well, yeah,
season.
that's again, that's where it's like it's never happening. It's never ever ever happening. But how much cooler would this be if this was how it was?
No, I think that would be absolutely great because it reminds me of like what the Champions League kind of does sometimes of like
Yeah,
in
it's
soccer.
like you take like a break essentially, and these are all this week is all Champions League games. Yeah,
Right. Or like the world, like whenever you do World Cup qualifiers, it's like teams take
yeah,
off like during that time.
yeah,
No, it
and they go
makes
play the
sense.
internationals. Yeah,
Yeah. It makes sense. And so I think that's not a bad idea. I think my only concern is, again, NBA players hate change. NBA fans hate change. And so, uh, listen, you're going to have the Bill Simmons of the world who come out and say, well, the NBA has done it one way. Although he's been more open to the idea of lessening games recently, which,
oh,
we'll
he's been
take
pushing
that.
hard for. Yeah, yeah,
Right. So I think that's the one like crowd of people is like the old heads or like some of like the NBA because NBA fans are like the worst when it comes to like to any sort of change in like the NBA. Like they were such haters of the play-in when it started. Now I think the play-in's like a fun little gimmick like for the playoffs. But I
oh, I think
think
it's been
like
a huge success. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, absolutely. But I think you've brought up a good point. It's like there has to be like a game difference, like for you to even be playing in the play-in, like to even like you should be within this number of
yeah,
games of the team ahead
yeah.
of you to even make the play-in. Um, so
Otherwise, what are we playing 82 for? You know, like it's
right.
like
Well, yeah, which that might be my next one to get into, but I think you're absolutely right. I think there needs to be a absolute difference. It can't just be the courts look different. There has to be like,
yeah, something
hey,
about
here's
the game needs to be different. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely agree. So like, yeah, one week you play two teams, the next week, the other week you play three teams or whatever it
yeah,
is. Like oh no, it's five. Mitch, you just did
yeah.
the math
You
yourself.
play 4 group games. Yeah, so it'd
Yeah,
be two. It'd be yeah, 2 weeks, 2 games each week. Yeah.
yeah, but then the other thing is you got to make sure there's games on every night of that week because listen, us NBA heads, we need to watch games all throughout the week, and so let's do the
So
math real quick here.
I actually don't. I actually think it'd be good. I actually think it would be beneficial to like just own a night. Like not like everybody. Like you still would play most of the nights, but like take the Wednesday off and like okay, we're loading up with cup games. Like here's the madness of the cup. Like look at all these results coming in. Like and almost have like a red zone type like programming on
Ooh,
like the 2 nights that you're playing these cup games where it's like man look at this is crazy look at like this result and like every game is the elam ending so every game is going to have these game winners and it's like look this one's down to the elam ending like they're 2 points away from the win they're 3 points away from the win how are they going to approach this let's go to Phoenix where they're down to the last how fun would that be like oh man crazy cup night last night.
I listen. I forgot to mention that part. Not only did you want to lessen the amount of games, you want to just bring a whole new ending into the NBA, which we talked about with how we want to change the NBA
Yeah,
last year with our podcast with Austin. But it's just also, I totally agree. There needs to be a change and like make it a distinct difference, and I think that's a
yes,
good way to also make it distinct in that sense.
yeah, it's
Uh,
still largely just like a normal NBA game, but the ending is just going to be a bit different. And I understand. Like I would do the elam ending. I do it for every open gym that I host, and we did it yesterday. And this new guy came, and he was like, "Wow, this is actually really cool." He's like, at first I was like, "What the heck are we doing here?" But then he was like, "This actually makes a lot more sense for pickup games than like the way people do it." But I love it. But I would understand like, okay, if you change just like every NBA game to that, like that is a pretty dramatic change. But if it's just the
yeah,
cup games, like why not? Like why not?
let's
They don't
like
even count for
let's
regular season
sprinkle it
games.
in that sense. Sprinkle it in that
Yeah,
sense. And you still can get your score differential if you want to. I think that would also. I think that's the biggest thing for teams is
oh
like
yeah, yeah,
if you're worried about score differential, you still get it.
for sure,
So
for sure.
so yeah, that's a good point. So here's my other thing. My second thing is this. I want NBA fans to care about the regular season. Like I don't know if you've been seeing this. Like you're not on social media anymore. You are a great human being. I mean, you're on what Instagram and that's it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. There's just been this on Twitter. There's been this like thing on Twitter, where like some people are like calling out others for like not watching all whatever how many games that night. And listen, I don't watch every game every night. That's totally fine. I at least try to watch a game or two plus some highlights here and there. But I think what we're seeing now with some NBA fans is like, hey, I'll turn on a game and make my immediate reaction about whatever happened, and that will be my whole thought of how this player has played this entire season without even looking back at like how they've played like the past month, past week, whatever. And I think that's just like how NBA fans are in general. I just want us to realize the importance of the 82 games, like the importance of like bring back the importance of the regular season. And I think I think that's what we're seeing now is like we talked about at the beginning of the year. We've never seen teams play harder. We've never seen teams play harder in the regular season than we had in this year. We're seeing nights like the past few nights where the Suns are trying so hard to beat Thunder, and they went on a game winner from Devin Booker. We have the Hornets tonight working their butts off. Everyone's trying to beat the Thunder. Everyone's trying to beat them. We talked about the Celtics. The Celtics have never played harder, and they're playing this good without probably their best player. We have the Raptors, who everyone thought was not going to be this great team, and they've showed up and showed out and overshown everybody. I think my thing is this is like I think people in the NBA love watching the playoffs because the playoffs are a blast, but I wish more people would watch the NBA regular season because you can get I think I saw this. The quote was like, you can get the end of the story by watching the playoffs, but you're gonna miss the depth of the story if you miss the regular season. Like you're gonna miss the text if you miss the regular season.
And I'm feeling that myself. I'm watching less full regular season games certainly than I was, let's say, 10 years ago. Like I think probably the 15-16 season, I feel like I was just like, man, every night was just like just multiple games, just constantly having it on and stuff like that. And so I think there's two things that are working against that. I mean, number one, just like you get older and you just add more responsibilities to your life. And it's just like, and it's competing against like the whole of the internet. So it's just like it's just harder to to sit and watch as many games. And the gap between now I think this year it genuinely has been better. The gap between how teams were playing in the playoffs versus the regular season had never been larger as it was 2-3 years ago. Like it was just like, wow, this is just a different game. How it was officiated was way different. It's always tweaked, but it was like completely different. And that has like evened out a bit over the last couple of seasons, I would say. And you watch just random regular season game, A versus two good teams. Like you're seeing some really high level basketball where they're playing really hard. Like no question about it. And I went to the Knicks Spurs game last week. It was awesome, New Year's Eve, and it's like these teams are going at it. Like they're playing incredibly hard. I've been in the building for finals games, and it is not at that intensity, but it's not like they're just jogging around out there. Like they're going at it. Like that was a great game. I wish the regular season counted for more. I definitely wish there were less games. I just think it just doesn't make a lot of sense anymore. Like, and then what you're saying dovetails with my kind of last thing I wish we could fix before the last thing I'm excited about. Some kind of tanking draft adjustment, because I don't think this is sustainable. So today I'm driving around and I'm listening to a podcast that I love that covers soccer, European soccer. They kind of start with Premier League stuff, and they have a Tuesday show where they talk about kind of the rest of Europe. And listening to them talk about the teams that are not good is so interesting, because it's like, wow, shame on them. They're really struggling. They're going to drop out of the league, everybody knows this. Everybody who knows follow sports knows, promotion, relegation. But it's just when you actually the day-to-day talk about the teams that are struggling is it's like, man, they better fire their manager because they got to survive. They better try to go find some good players in January because they need to survive. Whereas here, an hour later, I'm listening to a podcast, and this is no fault of it was I think it was Zach Lowe. It was no fault of his. It's he's just talking about the league, about how it's presented, and he was just Utah fans are getting a little worried that they're winning too much, and it's I know we're so used to this because we've followed the NBA forever. That's an insane thing to say. That's an insane thing to wish for, to be man, my sport that I love, or the league that I love, and has my favorite team in it, incentivizes losing so much that I'm annoyed that my team is winning so much. And it was said a little bit tongue in cheek, but I was like, man, when you really isolate the two things I've listened to over the last couple of hours, one of these things is what sport is and supposed to be. One is not. What are we doing? How has this gone so wrong that we're yes, my team lost again? I know it's been happening for a long time, but to me, it's reached a bit of a breaking point where it's you cannot have 6-7 teams in your league that are yeah, we really do not need to win very much this year. Because it's going to get worse as this season goes on. Right now, we're kind of hitting the point where it's okay, we kind of know who's good, who's bad. When it hits February, March, April, that's just going to get significantly worse, and more players sitting and more teams trying to lose. That's just such a bad look for the league. And I think that is hurting the regular season watching too, because it's hey, I'm going to turn this on. It's the stars being hurt and some of the tanking stuff is hey, I'm going to turn this game on. Oh, 4 of their players are out. Oh man, never mind, off ramp, Oh, I'm going to turn this game on. Oh, this team is not trying to win. Okay, never mind. Off ramp. There's too many off ramps for fans right now, including someone like me who's absolutely obsessed with this. It's just it's such a bummer. Like I just don't think this is sustainable. Where we can just keep doing this year on year on year, where it's like, yeah, I'm actually rooting for my team to lose this year. Like that's insane. That's an insane way to approach sport. But it's the system, so whatever.
So here's my thing. I totally agree with you. And listen, Adam Silver said he's going to go in like try to think of a way like how can we get anti-tanking. Listen, I've had we've gone through the idea of like no more draft. We did that in like the how to change the NBA pod of last December. I almost want to throw out the idea of like a lottery tournament, like those teams, like the 14 teams who don't make the playoffs, and then like somehow like they make a tournament bracket, random selection where like all these teams are like playing for like their spot in the lottery.
But theoretically, that is awesome, but the players wouldn't give a shit because they're like, I'm not playing for a guy who's going to take my spot.
Correct, and that's the thing, and that's my thing I come up against. But it's also like, or is it the other side of things? Is like, oh my gosh, we could go draft a guy and be so much better next year.
Yeah, but it's also that's not how players think about it, though. They just don't. Yeah,
that's fair. The other way I thought of it was like, okay, because there's only 14 teams, math. Yeah, 14 teams that don't make the playoffs. So you'd also then add the 8 seeds, and or the team that gets swept. I don't know, in the first round. Like if you're a team that gets swept in the first round, like you're immediately in this tournament. So you're like, oh, we're a playoff team. We might be one player away. But again, it's like one of those things. It's like you don't want to have your minutes taken away. It's not like Jared McKay would have gone out and tried really hard.
If let's say it's the 8 seeds, right? Like your first pitch there. If teams did if being bad is a reason to get a really good player, teams are always going to lose on purpose because now you're going to tank out of the 7 to get into the 8. So we're going to have this ridiculous scenario at the end of the season where it's like these teams are like, oh, I could climb up the standings. No, it actually is better for my long-term future if I fall down in the standings. Like that, we just have to remove that entirely. Really, the only way to do it is totally random lottery or get rid of the draft. Those are the only two ways to do it.
Or be like the NFL and just do it based on like record.
So that to me that makes it worse because now it's a race to the bottom. Right now the flattened odds like are cool. Like, and I understand people like the draft. Like there's cool parts about it, but it's like you can't have both. Like you're not gonna be able to have a draft and fix tanking unless the lottery is just totally random, which I think would be fascinating. But yeah, it's like it's cool until like OKC gets number 1 pick. So what, man? The Lakers got Magic Johnson when they had Kareem. Like that's just basketball history, right? It's like that happens. Like there's weird. I mean, the Spurs got Tim Duncan when they already had David Robinson. It's like that. That's how it goes. I don't know, man. I don't think that'd be a bad thing for there to be an occasional like juggernaut that gets a really good player. Like that's not a bad thing. The league is most healthy when there are juggernauts. So I don't know. There's not an easy fix. I don't think you can have the draft and fix tanking. I don't think it's possible.
Nor do I. You said you had one more thing you want to talk about. One more thing you want in 2026.
This is a positive. This is we have some awesome young stars in the league right now, and some really cool international players. The league is growing and growing all over the world. I am super excited to see these next generation of stars be the leaders of teams in the playoffs. We are kind of like phasing out. It's taking longer than most other generations just because of health and science and all that stuff. Like in other times in the league's history, the KD, Steph, LeBron era, those types of players would be done with their career already. Right. But these guys are still playing and they're still really effective. Obviously, I mean, KD's on, a contender, but it's going to be really cool to watch the Cade Cunninghams. Obviously, we already saw, Shea, win a title last year, Jokic a couple years ago. These kind of like this next wave of players that are going to kind of be in our lives, Wemby's, over the next decade. It's gonna be really cool to see them kind of be the leaders of the really good teams in the playoffs. I think that's always a fun time in the league's history where there's a bit of a transition to another generation. And I think this year is certainly gonna be one of those. It probably started already last year, but I love that. I love that time in the league's history. We have it every kind of, I would say 6 or 7 years where kind of like each kind of mini era kind of resets, and I feel like we're in that time right now, and it's pretty exciting.
Chris Paul being in his final year makes it feel like it's the start of it, which makes me think we're going to get probably LeBron in the next year or two. yeah, it feels like we're heading towards the end of this like pretty historic group of players, like
Yeah,
all retiring at the same time. At least three of the top 15 players in KD, Steph, and LeBron,
yeah.
uh, which is crazy that we've had this many that good of players and whatever. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, it is.
Uh,
It's incredible. Yeah, it's very rare that you have that many good players that were all together at the same time that lasted that long. I mean, that's really cool. And then Chris Paul, I think, being another top 30 player, throwing in the mix as well. It is very
yeah,
rare. So we've been very lucky. But I do think the league is like ready for kind of the next phase. And I think the players are too.
I absolutely agree because I mean we're seeing it with the All Star voting, like LeBron not being in,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
not alone like the first guy on the forwards of the West, but it's like
that says a lot.
not even in the, not even making the All Star team right now,
Yeah,
uh, which is crazy. Uh, I think we are seeing that change into the guard, so it is very interesting. Uh, no, my final thing I wanted to end with is this: is for 2026. Listen, you talked about like all this young talent that's coming in, that we've had in the NBA, and I think we're going to have a bunch come in this like upcoming draft. I am. I want what I want is a revisionist history done over some of the best draft classes we've had. And I want us to do it in some sort of way because, we can talk about the 96, we can talk about the '03, like draft
84.
classes,
Yeah,
84. Yeah. I want to have the 21st century, like draft classes, like ranked again because I think we're about to have another historic one here coming up, like this year with the guys that are coming out. And I know we didn't have a crazy one 2 years ago with Ricochet and Sar, but like I think there was just a misconception of who was a better player in that draft. But I think we've just have had some great drafts since the 2020. Like since Anthony Edwards got drafted, and like that whole draft was a blast. Um, I want us to continue to praise these young stars that are coming in, but slow to hate it. Like, because I think that's been the Cooper Flag thing this year. Is like I think that's the thing I hated the most was how much crap Cooper Flag got to start the like his career. These are 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds coming in and playing professional basketball for the first, some of them for the first time if they're not
yeah,
coming from overseas, and it's like they've got to adjust. And in Cooper Flat's case, they were playing out of position for like the first like
yeah,
month of the year. It
yeah.
felt like
Yeah,
so.
let's give these guys
I
more than
think
5 games, to determine what their career is going to
please,
be. Yeah,
please get them until like because I mean that's one of the great things about the NBA. It's kind of felt like it's in like a few different. It comes in different phases. It's like, hey, how well did you play before Christmas? How well did you play between Christmas and the All Star game, and then how did you end the season from All Star game to April? And I love that the NBA has those different phases. Can we get to Christmas and then we kind of be like, hey, here's we're 20 games in, 25 games in. Where are we starting to feel about these guys? Because I think we were so high on on a few different guys in the past years who were pretty good in their first year. I think my biggest one will ever forever be Tyreek Evans. Like we loved him. We thought he was going to be the next best thing that rookie year, and then he kind of just like teetered off a little bit. Like
hmm
he was good in Sacramento, had some fun times in Indiana. Didn't know what the hell he was doing in NOLA. Uh, but it feels like we should just give guys some like grace for like the first like 15 to 20 games, and then we can start making some conclusions. Also, it just comes to like playing time. Like I think that's the other thing. So anyways, I think Shepard is another one of those guys that we should
yeah.
we should learn like, hey, some
It's
time
like
is
look
okay.
now.
Like give him
Yes,
a
yeah,
year.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's where I'm at.
I like that. My last very quick one is 2026 should be the first time the Spurs get to. There's a playoff game in San Antonio in 7 years, which I've said this before. I went the first 29 years of my life, the Spurs only missed the playoffs one time. They've now missed it for 6 years in a row here. So yeah, first time in 7 years there will be a playoff game in San Antonio, unless something just terrible happens in the next couple months. There should be a playoff game in San
Oh,
Antonio in 2026, and I'm very excited for that.
absolutely. Give all of our teams a playoff game. Just a playoff game. Chicago Bulls, I'm pulling for you. Just you're the 9 seed right now. Keep pulling and just somehow listen.
Right where they
I'm
want
looking
to
at the
be.
standings right now.
Right where they want to
Right where they
be.
want to be. Listen, I want to point this out. I have every one of our teams overs for this year. I have the Celtics, the Spurs, the Nuggets, the Thunder, and the Bulls all tied into one big parlay and they're overs. And I just want that to happen. And right now we're on a great pace.
We
This
are.
this
The Jokic
Jokic
injury
injury
hurts. The Jokic injury hurts.
that kills me. I
Yeah.
needed like I think 50 some odd wins and oh damn. We're still on a good pace though. Listen, they won tonight in overtime against
They
Philly.
did. Saw
I
that.
think I listen, I think that's my other issue. I didn't bet Phillies under this year. I've done that for the past 4 years, and that's been pretty nice to me. I feel like every now and then. So, um, but anyways, we're gonna wrap it up here. Thanks everyone for listening. One last thing: Detroit versus Cleveland is the first round matchup in the East right now with the 1 versus 8. That'd be that'd be fun.
Wow.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, it
Last
would.
year's 1 seed Cleveland Cavaliers now
Yeah.
now down to the 8th seed. Wild. All right. Thanks everyone for listening. Go follow us on all our socials. Somehow our Anthony Davis thoughts that we put out last week got got a revitalized on TikTok. It had a big blow up on Instagram, and then it's got revitalized over the past few days on TikTok. Don't know how that happened. Yeah, thanks everyone for listening. Go follow us on our socials. Like I said, go check out our website. This year, we're gonna have some new content coming out there, uh, and then yeah, we're looking forward to this year of 2026 for the Hooper's Almanac. You haven't seen our friend Bridget, who's been running our social media, but she's done a great job, just so much in her first year with us, and we're excited just for the plans that we have with the two of us and her just coming on this year. So a lot to be excited about for this year for the pod, and plus we've hyped it up. We officially have our weekend where Adam and his brother are going to be coming up to Chicago. We're going to do the
Yep.
boys are finally getting together, and we're
Can't wait.
excited to talk about that as we get closer to then. Are we doing a live pod? Are we going to do a live
I think
pod
we
while you're
have
here?
to.
Because I mean,
I think we have to.
you're
Yeah.
spending
We
the
have to.
night. You're spending the
Yeah.
night in my apartment. And
Couple
my wife is
nights. Yeah,
working,
we
so,
have
I
to
mean,
at some point. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's the move. Perfect. All right, thanks everyone for listening, and have a great rest of your week. Oh wait, hold on. Go Celtics. Go Spurs. Who are we saying go to? Go Hawks for maybe coming up with the idea of trading.
Sure. At least you
Trae Young?
finally
All right.
came to the conclusion that you should do it. Yeah.
Yeah. The breakup is starting. But yeah, have a good one, y'all.